Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, on this triumphant Tuesday for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update with yours truly. It's a bit of a lackluster day, unfortunately, in regards to news to come out of the cryptocurrency space. However, we have recently discovered something rather interesting. We're going to be taking a look at a perspective from Eric Balanchunas, who is Bloomberg's senior ETF analyst, in regards to the effect or the effects that institutions have had on Bitcoin's price. And he also speculates in regards to where Bitcoin's price would actually be without these institutions. Now, this is very interesting because many of you are feeling a real frustration and fatigue in regards to the altcoin market. And if you look at the cryptocurrencies that have done well, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, they are the ones that have seen the most institutional interest. And institutions have largely been behind the sort of price movement that we've seen in the crypto space thus far. However, we aren't seeing anything out of the ordinary in regards to Bitcoin dominance's cycles or the 4-year cycle theory. The only thing out of the ordinary is that institutions have pushed it up to a high pre-halvening. And I still believe you've got this roaring bull market ahead of you for the altcoin market, and they very much look positioned in regards to that, certainly in regards to the accumulation patterns that they are all now in. We like to call that phase 1, ready for that phase 2 breakout. We are releasing the courses to the public next week, I believe. And of course, my Patrons are already going through them. So we're going to be talking about that because it gives us broader context in regards to where the market's at and who the players are in regards to that market. BlackRock now owns nearly as much Bitcoin, I believe, as Satoshi's wallet. So very quickly, guys, this is also from Eric, who we're going to be diving into in a second. Didn't realize US ETFs are on track to surpass Satoshi in Bitcoin held in October. BlackRock already is doing number 3 spot, on pace to be number 1 next week, and will likely stay there for a very long time. So BlackRock is literally taking over the space. Why would BlackRock take over a space they didn't think was going to do well? Now, BlackRock, we know, offer an Ethereum ETF. Likely they're going to offer a Solana one. And then they're going to open the floodgates to the crypto space more broadly, which Gary Gensler has largely been stalling. So we've got a lot to get into. We're going to be talking about that to start. We're going to be talking about gold. We've been talking about global liquidity, and we've been talking about what the housing market is essentially confirming in regards to global liquidity. We're going to be talking about gold because gold very much heading towards our target that we had pre-break, and then we do think it's going above and beyond. Now, why is gold relevant to the crypto space? Well, because we can divide Bitcoin by gold and see if gold's going up, is Bitcoin going to out or underperform it? And you get the kind of same conclusion. We'll be talking about Coinbase and then the Japanese yen carry trade, and do we still see a bit of unwinding to come from that? So first thing I want to do is dive into this clip of Eric Balanchunas giving his perspective on the Bitcoin ETFs and the ramifications they've had, and I think that gives context to the space more broadly. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic and we're going to get into that clip.
I think if you take the ETFs out of the picture, the price of Bitcoin is like 20 grand, because it was 30 when BlackRock filed. It started to go up because, oh, BlackRock's coming in. Then they launched. There was a little sell of news, but it hung tough. Now it went up a lot because of the flows. You unwind all that, you're at 30K, but you still have Mt. Gox and some of these other in Germany, and who's there to buy it? So I think the ETFs should be seen as nothing short of a godsend, to be honest with you. And I know Bitcoin has other things going on for it. I read up a lot about it, and I think it's a fascinating currency, secure way to store value. And I'm definitely intrigued. That said, pure price, I think that the ETFs really came at the perfect time, to be honest with you. I think if you take the
Now, that is a take we've very much been reiterating on the channel. And we've came to that by similar but different conclusions. So when we look at Google Trends, retail is not here in regards to people Googling. Most people, when they want to know about crypto, they go on Google. There's no retail participant in regards to, yes, okay, it's slightly elevated in Bitcoin, then slightly elevated in Ethereum, but generally, if you look at the space as a whole, it's not elevated in the slightest. The good news is that's typically what happens at the bottom of a market. And we have retail participation to come. And you can see very clearly that institutions are positioning accordingly. You know, why has Bitcoin gone on for the first time ever and put in a high pre-halvening? Well, it's because of the institutions. This is what we've been reiterating. We've given our own analogy as a YouTube channel. You know, we get some of the most viewed content when it comes to things like HBAR, ICP. Watch out for a HBAR video later on today, by the way, guys. And many other, even Solana, things like this. Sui, for example. You know, if we put out content, we get a lot of views on that content, which is great, and I thank you guys very much for it. But in the grand scheme of the sea of people that's out there, 10, 20,000 good video, maybe a 60, 70,000 on an XRP video because it's a very popular coin. There's 2.1 billion users on YouTube that watch YouTube monthly. There's nearly 9 billion people in the world. So 10,000 in the grand scheme of things, and YouTube's a very obvious place to come. But we know that BlackRock are essentially really sort of betting big, you could say, on this space, certainly engulfing some of the other players. And the ETFs undoubtedly have had a lot to do with Bitcoin's price action. Certainly this is when the ETF got launched, and you can see the sort of run that it's had since. And if you look at... So there's good news and I guess bad news in this. The Brave New Liquid Coin Index, which is the longest chart we have for Bitcoin. Again, the only anomaly here is the fact that Bitcoin is where it's at. You know, typically around the halvenings, you can see Bitcoin is nowhere near its high. It's kind of here. And the altcoin market is even further back. And the ones that have done well, there's real alpha in what I'm saying, by the way, here, guys, because it's telling you what's to come. And the ones that have done well, Solana, up until a couple of weeks ago, saw more inflows from ETPs than Ethereum up until the Ethereum ETF. Why do you think it's done as well as it's done? So you can see institutions picking winners and losers here. Certainly the AI sector done very well. Something like NEAR done rather well. I don't think this is the best NEAR chart that I've got, actually. What's this? Coinbase, Binance? So we looked at a number of things, I think, for NEAR. But the space as a whole is on a pretty amazing trajectory. And it's just a case of being patient. So enough on that. Let's talk about gold, which of course isn't crypto. It's kind of I guess an alternative to crypto in regards to a store of value. Gold is poised for a massive chart breakout with the target of $2,800, then $3,200. This communicate inverse head and shoulder. So we were tracking this along with Peter Brandt. We like Peter Brandt. He's very much a traditional analyst like we are. We like to use traditional technical patterns. You know, we have a head and shoulders target. What are the targets he's giving? Okay, we've obviously got different targets, but he's obviously highlighting what potentially could be a bit of a bull flag here that could give you targets slightly higher. And then you've got this broad cup and handle that's going to take place. And why is gold relevant? Well, we've been looking at global liquidity, where we think that's going. We've been looking at how assets like, for example, the housing market in the US, UK, and EU is all very much poised in the same position. And you've got to ask yourself, well, what does crypto do in a bullish environment? Well, it's going to outperform. And actually, we like to divide a Bitcoin by the likes of gold, which is in an uptrend. It's made targets for us and is very much setting up to do something pretty spectacular against gold, which is going to be going up, which you can drive a bullish environment from. Certainly, you can also divide, although not the best looking chart, Total 2, which is the altcoin market, which is largely driven by Ethereum. Remember, the altcoins haven't basked in that institutional sun. You know, I still do believe this is en route for an uptrend. And we like to teach market cycles in the Patreon, and we'll be sort of unveiling some stuff to you guys very shortly on all of that. So even though it's a lackluster news day, very interesting take from Eric Valentunas, one we absolutely agree with. We've got some interesting news in regards to Coinbase. Coinbase finds flawed analysis in SEC's proposal exchange definition. In the third letter to the SEC, the crypto exchange said it would withdraw the proposal, which was first released in 2021, and start over again. Coinbase has submitted a new letter to the United States Securities and Exchange Commission regarding the agency's proposed revision to the definition of national securities exchanges. This marks Coinbase's third comment letter, focusing on the SEC's cost-benefit analysis of the proposed changes. The SEC lacks the necessary information to conduct a cost-benefit analysis and depends on irrational arguments in its place. Coinbase arguments the SEC should at least withdraw the proposal and start over again. After it has done its research, the letter author, Coinbase Chief Legal Officer Paul Grewal, and you can see this as a letter. We'll leave a link to this in the description. The SEC is just going from worse to worse, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit on the macro. So we have CPIs tomorrow for both the UK and the US. Got some interesting data in regards to the UK. Unemployment drops slightly. You've got this real sort of migration issue going on in the UK. And I wonder how that's going to skew things. It's a very interesting time to be a UK citizen. That is for sure. And, there's a lot going on still on the macro. We haven't think the macro is going to be a great picture. But one thing that people are, I guess, a little bit worried about is, of course, what took place last Monday, which was the Japanese yen carry trade. And people speculating that this might still be on somewhat. I think the main market that's going to be affected by this is, of course, the Nikkei, which is a short yen trade. And certainly if you do see continued yen strength, you are going to see continued margin calls. But the thing is, you've got other central banks easing at the same time as the third largest central bank hiking. So I think there's going to be a little mitigation there. And of course, all eyes on September's meeting. So that is really it from me, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bit of a lackluster news day, so we don't want to keep you guys too long. Hang in there. Some real alpha in regards to what Eric Balanchunas is saying there, and it also aligns with what we're saying. Retail really isn't here. The big movers of this market have been literally the ETFs, BlackRock, the ETPs, which is why we watch CoinShares' report so closely. You will have this opening up of the floodgates to the broader cryptocurrency market, and hopefully we're all positioned accordingly for when that takes place. That's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed the content, like us, appreciate it, so as a comment, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next.